Yeah, 100% my call. It's just, that's one of those things that's meaningful, and it's one of those things that's, I think as a head coach, you got to be mindful of your team and your players and your coaches and what it means to them. It's a very, very tough record to accomplish, and it's a long-term record. So I'm not going to say it's more important than winning the game for sure, and it's certainly not. But as a head coach, I think you do that for your players and you do that for your coaches, and it's something that.
Yeah, I thought it was kind of bull, but I expected it from them. I've 37 years in pro ball. I've never seen anything like that. So, but it was to be expected, and we expected it.
Why did you expect it from them?
Because I just know how they operate. That's just their, mode of operation there. Player safety is secondary.
Is that something anybody?
This one hurts. I try to be neutral when it comes to rooting interests. I don't have a favorite team. I root for stories. I'm not a fan. I stopped being a fan because I'm old enough to have come into the business when journalists weren't encouraged to be fans or openly rooting for their team. So especially coming into the business at the age that I did, at 21 years old at the Boston Globe and 24, 25 years old at a national network, I wasn't about to be some kind of fan. That trend started after I came into the business. Having said that, the closest I come to being a fan of an NFL team is the Baltimore Ravens. I'm fascinated by their operation, by their scouting and development process, by their draft process. Might have something to do with the fact that I've always gotten along with Steve Bisciotti, always gotten along with Ozzie Newsome, always got along with Eric DeCosta, and prior to John Harbaugh, pretty good relationship with Brian Billick as well. So maybe the PR got me into him, or maybe it was just the sustained excellence. Or maybe it was all those years of being around Bill Belichick and listening to Bill Belichick express his admiration for the Baltimore Ravens and how they conducted their business. So to hear Vic Fangio say that's what they're about, I expected that. We expected that from them. That's pretty damning and jarring. It's also the wackest thing I've seen in a long time. And I'm shocked that John Harbaugh would double down on it. Even today, he said what's meaningful to us might not be meaningful to them. And he talked about the fact that, hey, Drew Lock was throwing into the end zone at the end of the game, and there's no such thing as a 16-point touchdown. So they got an opportunity to tie the 74 through 77 Steelers with 43 consecutive games of 100 rushing yards, only because the Broncos turned it over trying to score at the end of the game. But that's no excuse.
Okay.
Like, number one, like, who the hell even knows that this record exists outside of Baltimore? 43 straight games of 100 yards? Who gives a damn?
What?
Number one.
They
Number
do.
two, if you're not getting it within the flow of the game, it's cheapened. And last but not least, of all teams to be putting players in harm's way, given the injuries that the Ravens have already withstood, given the fact that Lamar Jackson is on the injury report, has been on the injury report for the last several weeks with hip and back and so on and so forth, why would you put the ball in Lamar Jackson's hands to match a meaningless record at the end of a game? And this is why I need him to miss me with the taunting stuff that has died down. But you'll recall the taunting conversation from a couple weeks ago. And coaches, I believe John Harbaugh was among them, come out saying, oh, we got to stop this taunting because a fight will break out. Well, what if some Bronco decides that that's Bush League and decides to take a cheap shot at Lamar Jackson or somebody else because you wanted a record that nobody's going to remember? So you mean to tell me the Baltimore Ravens one day going to sit back and say, yeah, son, back in the day, back in my day, me and my teammates, we tied the 74 to 77 Steelers with 43 consecutive games of 100 rushing yards. Look it up. Like, come on, man, really? Was it really worth it? Was the juice worth the squeeze? I think not.
Yeah.
I think not.
It was.
You're better than that.
Yeah, look. Okay, no, they are no, that's condescending. Don't tell them that. Don't tell anybody that.
I meant it to be condescending. They are supposed to be
okay.
better than that.
Well,
Unless
no,
Vic
they
Fangio
are-
clearly
they
knows
are-
differently. They are better than
They are
that.
who's Vic Fangio? It ain't about him, but you brought his name up. So let me tell you, who's Vic Fangio? What do people
A
say about him?
competitor.
Do people even
A competitor.
what? Nobody say that about him. He ain't even.
Michael,
look,
nobody
look.
does this.
Hey,
Nobody does this.
no. Okay. Wait a minute. One,
So Vic Fangio or anybody else?
he ain't qualified. He ain't qualified to talk about their operations. You're not on their level, Vic. You're not on their level. Nobody talks about Vic Fangio the way they talk about John Harbaugh. That's one. But two, but that's not even one. That's five. That's 5 or 6. I don't even want to talk about him because he's a side piece. He's a side piece in this whole narrative. If the Baltimore Ravens feel like it is best for their organization, it's best for their players and their coaches. That's what he said. That's what John Harbaugh said. I'm not a fan either. Ravens, Broncos, doesn't mean anything to me. I do have a lot of respect for the Ravens, though. If John Harbaugh says it's best for my organization and my players and my teammates and my coaches to get this record, then that's what it's about. It ain't about sitting back and telling somebody, hey, look up that record. We beat the Steelers. It's about
That's what he
for
said.
his team.
He said they'll
but
be
it's
talking
best for
about
his
they'll
team right
have this
now.
for the rest of their lives. That's what he said.
These
he
guys
said they'll
will.
have this for the
These
rest of their
guys will.
lives. That's a quote from John
Maybe
Harbaugh.
they'll have it.
So that's what I'm referencing.
Yeah, they'll have it, right. They'll have it for the rest of their lives, meaning I accomplished this. Now, I accomplished something. I may not go around the streets telling everybody, hey, I played on the 2021 Ravens and we set a rushing record. It's just something that they accomplished. And nobody got hurt. It was a blowout game. I can't stand this.
Luckily.
I can't stand what you just did. What you just did, it drives me crazy. What if Lamar Jackson got hurt? What if a Denver Bronco decided that he was going to go on some pioneer justice spree and he's going to clock Lamar Jackson? Okay, well, that's just being stupid. Okay, you can't do that in the NFL.
Yeah,
You're not allowed
so
to
is
do
running
that.
with your quarterback at the end of a game.
But is that illegal? Is that a penalty? Is that a penalty? Running at the end of the game? Just because we're used to victory formation, we think, all right, that's the way to do it.
I'm glad you brought that up.
They didn't go for the end zone. They ran 5 yards. They slid. Game's over. In a blowout game, 23-7, it's over. They got a record. We move on. No harm, no foul. And now John Harbaugh
fortunately, no harm, no foul.
has to answer to Vic
Fortunately, no harm, no
Fangio.
foul.
Vic Fangio's
Fortunately. Okay, here, I'm glad you mentioned that. Because I'm old enough to remember when Greg Schiano was getting a lot of, rightfully so, criticism for having his team attack the ball in victory formation. There's a certain way that things are done and have always been done because there's a right and a wrong way to do things.
Come on.
When's the last time you seen somebody
Really?
pull something like this up 16? And again, Michael, okay, I will meet you not halfway, but I'll meet you a quarter of the way. If you want this meaningless record, have your franchise quarterback hand it off, pretty please. You're down to your 6. How many running backs have they gone through in Baltimore? J.K. Dobbins was playing in the preseason and tore his ACL when he probably shouldn't have been playing in the final preseason game. So even if you want this record, even if the traditional way of ending a game, you don't want, right on time. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Right.
The Bucs were just trying to win the game. Remember? They were just trying to win a game. Nobody was hurt. No harm, no foul. All's well and ends well. Congratulations on your record that nobody knew existed.
Right.
Great.
Yes, got it. Okay,
but
now they do.
Lamar Jackson
got it.
dove into the end zone and hurt his hip. So you don't put your quarterback at minimum, will you at least allow for this? Will you at least stipulate on this? At least hand the ball off to somebody. Let them get it. But to put Lamar Jackson out there, so all the Broncos, you want to go at Vic Fangio's lack of qualifications. So all the Broncos, all those other professional football players, they don't have a right to be pissed.
Listen.
They don't have a right to be pissed.
Everybody's got a right to be pissed, including Vic Fangio. But what I take issue with is Vic Fangio saying, hey, I've been in this business for a long time, and this is what they're known for. First of all, the Baltimore Ravens haven't existed for 37 years. But anyway, I think what his real issue is not the record. His real issue is His team lost its first game of the year, down 23-7. Teddy Bridgewater knocked out of the game. The issue is
so he's
they
a sore
lost.
loser? So he's a sore loser,
Yeah.
you're saying?
Yeah, I think that's the issue. You lost the game.
Okay.
Look, if they had won the game, would he have an issue with it? No. I mean, I think the number one thing is they lost the game
If
and
they
they
had
wanted to
won-
win it. So, but really, the Baltimore Ravens, let me ask you this. Have you heard from all your sources, have you heard anybody say the Baltimore Ravens do dirty business? They play dirty pool. Have you heard anybody say
No,
that?
that's what I say. That's what I said was jarring to me. That's what I said was. That's why was.
Okay.
I had never heard
So,
that.
If you haven't heard about
That's
it,
what was jarring to me.
I've talked to a lot of people.
But that doesn't.
You talk to a lot of people.
That
I know
doesn't mean it's not
Vic
true.
Fangio's been a coach for 37 years. Why do you think he said it then? You think it's true, or do you think there's another agenda? Do you think he's got something against John Harbaugh? Do you think he's got something against the Ravens organization, which is one of the top 5 organizations in terms of doing business in the NFL? It's a model organization in a lot of ways. So did he hear something, or is he just mad? He's just mad it came against his team. Look, this has been going on beyond this, Mike. I know there's a record attached to this, so it's a little different. But this happens in a lot of sports. It happens in baseball. It happens in basketball. People take a real issue with how games are closed out when they're losing. They feel like you should do a certain thing when you've got the game in hand. And we've gotten so used to
When's
it.
the last time you saw
that
something like
Michael's-
this? When's the last time you saw something like this?
Baseball. Tony La Russa criticized
No,
his own
I'm-
team.
In the NFL.
Oh, like
in the
this?
NFL. When's the last time you saw something like this? In the NFL. Can you think of it?
I really can't. I can't think of this. I can't think of this
Okay,
situation.
I'll answer the question.
But I
Rhetorical
can't
question.
think
And I
of-
wasn't expecting
I
you.
can't think of-
I wasn't expecting you to come up with an answer because that's what the Elias Sports Bureau is for. Okay, I'll answer my own question for you. You ready? The Elias Sports
Yes.
Bureau could not confirm the last time in the past 25 years that a team gained yards on a play that began in the final 5 seconds while leading by at least 10 points. Back in 1992, Spencer Tillman ran for 1 yard with 2 seconds left, with his Houston Oilers led the San Diego Chargers 27-0. We've seen people get take a meaningless shot or get a rebound or assist. We know people stat pad in the NBA all the time to get a triple-double.
Right.
Okay? We've seen people take three-pointers and it starts fights at the end of blowouts. Okay? We have seen people get 100 yards rushing, or I think Sean Payton did it with the Saints a couple of years ago. Go and get records or contractual thresholds that people get in the final week of the season in order to trigger incentives. Every game doesn't always end with a kneel down. I understand that. But this, as I just pointed out to you, is practically unprecedented. And more than anything, given the injuries at this organization, which I have lauded just this season and every season, has already sustained this year, specifically to Lamar Jackson, I probably would feel I'd be a little less perturbed if it was a different play call. A little less. I still would think it was Bush League, but I'd be a little less perturbed. I'm shocked.
Can I give you a confession?
I guess I'm shocked, but I don't know why I'm shocked that we see this differently. I should not be surprised. I'm Vic Fangio. You're John Harbaugh. Fine. I'm not surprised. I expected you to disagree with me. No, actually, I didn't. I'm shocked. I was like, ain't no way we're gonna move past. I told the producers earlier, we're gonna hit this and move it because I'm absolutely sure we see this the same way. Shocked.
Okay. Well,
Shocked.
Well,
But I shouldn't be. But I shouldn't
You know
be.
what? I used to. Well, two quick things. One, I used to agree with you. I used to take issue with those things. Whether if it was a sport I was playing poorly or a sport that I was watching, I had a real problem with people just kind of flossing a little bit when the game's over. I mean, essentially, that's what we're talking about. But that's their right. That's the privilege of winning. The privilege of winning is I don't have to do it the way you did it. I don't have to do it like
At what
everybody
cost?
else.
Okay,
I don't have
that's
to.
fine. That's fine. We don't have to keep going back and forth on that.
Vic Fangio.
This ain't a sportsmanship conversation. This is a common sense conversation. Respectfully,
No,
Super Bowl
it's
winning
not.
coach John Harbaugh.
What is Vic?
No.
So Vic Fangio is what's he concerned about? He's
No,
concerned
Michael
about
Smith.
the Ravens.
I'm not
injuries?
speaking for Vic Fangio. I'm
Okay.
talking about Michael Smith.
But why
You're
is
the
he
only
mad?
person talking about Vic
Okay.
Fangio. You're the only person talking about Vic Fangio. I'm not here to
No, you
keep up
brought
with
him
Vic Fangio.
You brought him up.
No,
You
I did
brought him
not.
up.
No, I didn't.
Yes, you did initially.
He played. No, I didn't. We played the sound. I didn't bring him up. I said
Did you
that
talk- did
I
you
took
mention
issue
him?
with it. No, I didn't. I took issue with it
okay,
mainly because it's Lamar Jackson. That's all I'm saying. We don't have to go back and forth on the right or wrong way to do this. I said two things. One, there's a reason why you don't see this happen. Two, it's Lamar Jackson. And anytime he shouldn't even been in the game to get these yards. It's not worth the risk. You the one brought up Vic Fangio's lack of qualifications vis-a-vis John Harbaugh. We ain't
Right.
got to go back
Okay,
and forth on
right.
that.
Right. Okay, let me ask you. Let me just say, let me give you a quick confession. I know I hear the music playing. Quick confession. So I used to feel this way. I don't feel this way anymore. I believe in the privilege of winning. And the other thing is, you know, my cousin, I always mention her, Nikesha Sales, she got a record in a way that some people might consider Bush League. But since it's family, and she got the record at UConn, she became the all-time leading scorer, no longer, but became the all-time leading scorer on a torn ACL. They stopped the game. She hobbled out there and got a layup, a free layup to break the record. Look her up, Nikesha Sales. People still talk about it, but you know what? That's my cousin. Leave her alone. Get
By the
your
way,
own
just
record.
FYI,
Get your
just
own record.
FYI, just to remind you, in case you forgot, Fangio was a Ravens assistant coach from 2006 to 2009, and that included Harbaugh's first two seasons in 08-09. So, again, this isn't a resume thing, but when you ask, what does he know? Well, he was there.
Why did he
So he
leave?
does have some credibility on how
Why did
the
he leave?
Ravens organizationally operate.